everyone. So today we're going to go back to basics. Basically, I've noticed that sometimes beginner users with AutoCAD will have a hard time taking, some really lovely drawings. They've done a lot of different things in model space, but then actually taking that into a layout or onto a sheet of paper and preparing to either print it or make it into a PDF. That's where there's a bit of a disconnect. So this video is going to be all about back to that kind of basic step in AutoCAD on how to place your beautiful drawings onto a layout in AutoCAD. So first of all, you always will have the model tab down here, as well as usually there's layout 1 and layout 2 by default. Right now we only have the one layout 1. And if I click on layout 1, I can see that it's basically just a sheet of paper with a default viewport, so that window into model space, that's just actually showing the entire drawing. It's not actually showing anything specific or focused in on. But just because I want to show you the whole process, we're going to actually create a new layout and actually set it up from scratch. So the simplest way to create a new layout is just put the little plus sign down here. You can also type the layout command out, but I'm just going to create a new layout by clicking on the little plus sign. And I'm also going to just click here, double click there, excuse me, and let's give it a name. So I'm going to call this one the plan layout. So we're here. We have this beautiful kind of layout ready to go, and we're going to focus in on this plan here. So first things first, I want to make sure this is the right size drawing. So I'm going to go to page setup, and we're going to say modify. And I always go to DWG to PDF because I print things to PDF first. And then right now it's set to an ISO full bleed A4. I'm going to choose an A3 because I like the full bleed, because that way if there's any lines at the edge it won't just kind of cut them off. But really it's kind of up to you. Then I want to make sure I use the monochrome plot style a lot because I think it's a really good default. And I'm going to click display plot styles. And last but not least, because we're going to set the scale up in the viewport, we want to make sure any plot scales are actually set to 1:1, because basically we're going to set it up where on the sheet it looks right anyway. So with all of that, I think I'm happy, and I'm going to say OK and close. So now we have this all set up, ready to go, and we can see our black and white drawing. And what I'm going to do is stretch out this viewport, which is just a rectangle. So stretch out one corner, and so we have a bigger viewport here, but we actually only see a little bit of our drawing. So what I'm going to do, just to make it where we can orient ourselves a little bit better, is double click. And I personally don't like to have the grid on just because I think it can be distracting, and that's just a little toggle button down here. And if I just pan, so I'm going to pan where this is in the center, and now I'm going to zoom in on my plan. And now what I want to do is set it at a particular scale. So I know I want to make this a, let's say, 1:50 drawing. Perfect. So we can see that this is, here in the middle of the drawing, and it's to scale. We could do a 1:20 maybe. It might be too big. Yeah, a little bit too big. So we're going to go back to 1:50. So I've double clicked on the outside now. And so we have our plan and we have it to scale. And what I'm actually going to do now is shrink my viewport down, where basically I'm just cropping everything but the plan itself. So I could actually just go ahead and say print right now, and it would print exactly kind of what we see. But there's a couple of things I want to adjust first. So first things first, I want to make sure the viewport is going to be on a layer where it doesn't print the frame. It prints the content, but it doesn't print the frame. And I've actually set that up already. So if you go to, I just make a layer called viewport, but in your layer properties manager, which if I just make this a little bit bigger, we can look at that. You can see I've created this layer, viewport, and most importantly, it just says no plot. It's just a basic layer with black lines, but it's not going to actually plot. And the good thing is it will plot the content even if it doesn't plot the frame. So we've done that, and yep, that's fine. So now we're going to add in a couple of things like title blocks, titles, north arrows, and things like that really can make a drawing that's put on a sheet look much more professional and in keeping with kind of industry conventions. I'm going to actually show you a little bit of a how-to, because I know sometimes when people download title blocks or other types of things from the internet, then they don't necessarily always bring in at the right size. So if we do that now, I'm going to actually bring in this A3 title block and just leave it at that. We can see that it's brought in really small. So we're going to scale this. So if I select this, type SC, enter, choose a base point, and this time we're going to actually scale it with a reference. So if I look down here, I can just type REF, enter, and we want to scale it from basically this bottom width. It's currently 16. We need it to be 420. Because that's the width of an A3 sheet. Now I'm going to select it and then go to my properties and just make sure it's on 0, 0. And then move it over 420, and there we go. So now what we've done is we've added in this title block, and it's perfectly on the sheet. And let's see, let's move this a little bit into the center, and let's add a couple of more things. So let's add a drawing title. That's all fine. And let's add a north arrow. So these are just a couple of like annotation blocks, which again will just help your drawing look more polished and follow more kind of industry expectations. But it's ultimately kind of how you want to set it up. But basically now that we have our viewport, so that window into model space set to 150, we have our sheet size set correctly, and we have the plot style set correctly, we could actually just go ahead and plot. So basically it's just going to be plot, enter, and all that's fine because we've already set it up. Okay, and save. And if we look, it's opened up here, and we have our drawing as a black and white drawing with varying line weights on a title block. So that's one of those back to basics, how to put a drawing on a layout and set it up ready for print.
If you liked that video, check these out and click to subscribe, where you'll be the first to see new videos I release every Monday. Thanks for watching!